And we're very confident that working with you, reaching out to members of the Senate in both political parties, that members of the Senate and the American people they represent will see, as the President said last night, that Judge Brett Kavanaugh is quite simply the most qualified and the most deserving nominee to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Well, today, President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, he joined Vice President Pence. This was his first visit to Capitol Hill ahead of what many expect to be a contentious confirmation process. Here now to discuss the path ahead, Hagan Scotten. He is a former clerk for Judge Kavanaugh, along with Chief Justice Roberts and currently an assistant U.S. attorney. Ed Whelan is with us, former clerk for Justice Scalia, currently and current Ethics and Public Policy Center President. Ed, let me start with you. You know, on one hand, we hear some overtures, including interviews today with Collins and Murkowski, that makes it seem like perhaps the Republicans will have enough votes to get this nominee through. But there's some serious embedded pushback going on, and there's still some disappointment, even by some Republicans, that maybe the so-called establishment won again.
Well, look, I think we have an outstanding candidate in Brett Kavanaugh. I think the more people look at his record, the more they will appreciate that what won out is superb quality. We have someone who will make a great Supreme Court justice, and I think that Republicans will unify around his nomination, and that there'll be some red state Democrats who come on board as well, and that he'll be confirmed with much less of a fight than many people are predicting. Hagan,
this is sort of any position in Washington, D.C. these days comes with a whole lot of barbs and pushback. But this particular position, because of how important it is and how critical what it means for the court and tipping the balance, if you will, what you've heard so far about Judge Kavanaugh, what have you heard that bothers you, that you think is just an outright mischaracterization of him?
Well, what I've mostly heard about him is the good things.
Sure.
And it's great to hear those because they're true. If anybody suggests that Judge Kavanaugh isn't one of the most thorough and brilliant legal minds out there, that would bother me. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard anybody say that. If people suggest that he's not fair, and I think maybe there has been a little of that, that bothers me. He is an incredibly fair man. I know that from working with him day to day. Any case that came before him, he wanted to see both sides of it. He wanted to see both sides of it twice. If you were sure that you were right about a particular legal position, he needed you to explain again and again why the other side wasn't right. He's a true judge's judge. He's going to come to each case, look at it on its facts, decide it independently where the law leads him, and I hope everybody sees that, however else they feel about him.
Well, obviously, there's some Democrat opposition. Some of the narratives out there is that he praised the dissent of Roe, that he criticized Roberts on his ruling of Obamacare, that he opposes net neutrality, and one that really is being stoked, at least in political circles, saying that a sitting POTUS can't be indicted and that you can fire a special prosecutor, at least a president can, anytime he wants. Now, I've read where that's probably, that some are saying that's fake news. Again, when you hear those kind of things, because we got to brace for it, this is what he's going to hear, this is what he's going to face. What do you think he's made up his mind on Roe v. Wade, for instance?
I'm sure the judge hasn't made up his mind on any case that would come before him. When a case came before him on the D.C. Circuit, it could be something that looks superficially easy and unimportant. It could be the biggest case in the world, and he treated each case the same. Each case he wanted to know what was the law, what was the precedent, what were the scholarly articles on it. Every aspect of it he would relook, even if it was an easy decision. I'm sure there's no case that he's prejudged.
Right. And let me ask you about the judge with respect to the business community. Of course, our viewers are always kind of concerned. We had an avalanche of regulatory under the last administration. Some of them being taken away. But there's still questions about Dodd-Frank and how to unwind that. There's still questions about Obamacare. And many are wondering where you think this justice would come down with respect to these business rulings.
Well, look, there are two great attributes that Judge Kavanaugh has. One is that he is a serious textualist. Words matter, and that ought to be a great comfort to people in business who know that they can look at a law and understand what it means and rely on it and not have some cockamamie interpretation imposed on them after the fact. The second is that he has been a deep critic of the administrative state. He has led the way in reining it in, keeping it within constitutional bounds, keeping it under control, and I think you'll see that continue when he's on the Supreme Court.
All right, gentlemen, thank you both very much. Really appreciate it.